So Dog started out in Mid-South. He's kind of this comedic character who worked in Junkyard. He'd carry his opponents out in a wheelbarrow after matches. But even with kind of a silly gimmick like that, he got over huge. And Watts
Mhm.
made the decision to replace the wheelbarrow with a dog collar. He's coming out to Another One Bites the Dust, and
Yeah.
he's positioned in this top babyface role. At the time, this was really revolutionary, though.
Yeah.
Let's all remember that we're in the South, and the world was
Yes.
still evolving for the better. So other promoters from around the country thought Watts was crazy with the belief that white fans would never support a pro wrestling show where the top babyface was an African American.
And
Um,
brother, I'm telling you, I was, it's like it did my heart so. I mean, touche to Bill Watts for, number one, having. I mean, and Bill is an extremely intelligent guy. I mean,
mhm.
my understanding of the psychology of the wrestling business, I learned most of it from Bill. I mean, I grew up in the business, but Bill was so good and so smart, and it's kind of like and a lot of people didn't like him. I mean, a lot of people didn't like him. Said he was like a bully. Uh, but it's kind of like wrestling was a different you know animal back then, and I just the only thing I would have said, and I actually I have said. I mean, I talk to Bill occasionally. Still, I mean, every now and then I'll get on the phone with him or whatever, and he sends me jokes. He'll text message me some jokes and stuff like that from
That's
time to
awesome. You're still in
time.
contact.
But I told him one time. I said, you know what, Bill? I said I really appreciate all you invested in me. I said, but I just wish you'd have paid me better.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have never wanted to leave, because
Yeah,
as I'm watching all this stuff back, you're in a really nice featured role in the company. Everything's kind of moving and shaking for you. But I mean, to your point, it's man, there's awful lot of money out there for a guy with your skill set.
yeah. Well, and
Uh,
I again, when Bill changed me, when I uh, turned heel, then I was, the top guy on the other side.
mhm.
JYD was the number one baby face, and I was the number one heel.
Man, it's we've got a video coming up and it is fantastic. Can't wait to watch it back. Before we get there, we're almost there. Before we get there though, it's yeah, I just wanted to kind of put a punctuation point on that whole point. Watts is often criticized for being a racist. He was actually dismissed from WCW as a result of, I don't know, some off-color comment that he made at some point. But I mean, that takes a lot of guts to do what Bill did during that time, where like other promoters, when you're trying to send these guys to different territories, like
Yeah,
some of them didn't want him there in that kind of a featured role. So I mean, it's just really incredible for Bill to do that. It really took some
yeah,
guts.
yeah. Well, the one thing I did understand is that we were in the deep South. I mean, oh my gosh, you can't get any deeper into the South than Louisiana.
Yep.
I mean, Louisiana, Mississippi, probably the closest thing to, um, if you were going to say there were two racist states left in the United States, it
That's it.
probably at that time would have been Louisiana and Mississippi.
Hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him, it was good for everything. It was good for the culture. It was good for, I think, in some ways, it even helped to uh, heal some of those wounds, if you will. Uh,
Yes. It kind of helped bridge a gap eventually because as Dog's popularity grew, it was like the newspaper in New Orleans actually put out some kind of a survey like, "Hey, who's the most popular athlete?" So, like as a reminder, Pete
yeah,
Maravich was in that city at the time, the basketball player, a Caucasian. Archie Manning, Peyton Manning's father, was
yes,
the quarterback in that city
yeah,
at the time.
and played football at Ole Miss. I mean,
Yep.
he was from Mississippi. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
but the number one athlete in in the city
It
was
was
JYD.
Junkyard Dog. Yeah, and
So
I remember, the The fans, especially in New Orleans, they came up with a chant. And so, like when I would, when he would, when we would get to a part of it, when we had so many matches, but when we would get to that part of the match where I'd tell the dog, I said, "Okay, buddy, it's time for you to light that fuse and start coming back." And as he would do that, the fans would start chanting, "Who dat? Who dat? Who dat say to go and beat that dog? Who dat?" That was the chant. I mean, it just echoed everywhere. So
And by the way, the Saints fans still do that chant today. So I don't know if that came as a result of JYD or if it was part of the Saints culture already. But I'd like to think that it started with JYD and it's still something's going today.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't really know. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it started with JYD.
Let's say it was.